Roguelikes are my favorite genre for a pretty good reason. There's randomness, spikes of difficulty, infinite replayability, and sometimes enough tilt to make anybody look down at the ceiling. But the only thing I love more than a good roguelike is a good challenge. Which is why I'm so excited to say that today I'm teaming up with TMNT Splintered Fate in order to test myself in a roguelike gauntlet. Today we're playing the brand new Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles roguelike. It's a roguelike beat 'em up on the Nintendo Switch that has local and online co-op modes and is sure to join your rotation if you like fast combat, really hard bosses, or just pizza time. And today we're gonna challenge it by doing a pseudo Nuzlocke. There are 4 different turtles that you can choose from. I have 1 attempt per turtle to try to beat this game. If I win on one of these 4 attempts, I can leave with my head held high and my self-proclaimed roguelike GOAT status still intact. However, if I lose, I have to admit that TMNT Splintered Fate has bested me and taken my crown. And you want to know what makes the challenge extra hard? The fact that I never played it before in my life. So let's get started. Our first run, I decided to start with Leonardo. He's a pretty balanced all-rounder and also the leader of the gang, so why not let him take charge? Since this was my first run ever, this basically meant he was going to be the sacrificial lamb of the challenge, which is what he would have wanted. Now, let me explain some mechanics of the game. Each character has 2 inspirations and a starting tool. The inspirations are what separate the characters, but the tools can be replaced later by just finding a new one in a reward. We begin our run and I get a feel for how the gameplay works. Every character has a dash, a basic attack combo, a unique special move, and of course a tool. Leonardo's special is to dash through enemies and deal damage. A mechanic I enjoy that makes this game pretty difficult is that special moves and tools are charged by using your basic attack. So unfortunately, you can't cheese the game by choosing something overpowered and running away until the cooldown returns. Our first few rooms are practically me tripping over my feetsies learning how to walk, but as soon as I get the hang of things, we start to look for synergies in our itemization. The first major power we get is called light attacks, which buffs our attack damage by 4% of our max health. Getting offense to scale with defense is always overpowered. We fight our first mini boss, which is a giant Mauser rat robot thing, and then roll an upgrade called shuriken attack, which is a percentage chance to throw a shuriken when using your basic attack. And finally, it was time for our first main boss, Leatherhead, who is a very fast reminder that this challenge was going to be brutal. He has different phases, spawns enemies multiple times, and is tankier than he looks, which is saying something because this man is clearly about 1,700 pounds of lean green muscle mass. After about 6 business days of swinging at this mega mutant, we finish him off and head into the second stage, the docks. We're allowed to choose another inspiration at the start of the next level, which is absolutely insane because some of these are OP. I choose to buff my AoE and continue my warpath. This stage is significantly harder than the first. A ton of enemies shoot laser beams, projectiles, have AoE attacks, and whatever else to make my day just a little bit worse. We end up getting a couple of shuriken upgrades, one that makes me shoot shurikens whenever I dash, and another that makes the shurikens act as boomerangs and return to my character, which I thought looked neat. Going an all shuriken build actually sounds pretty fun, and I can tell the builds available in this game are going to be overpowered. We get to the Sea Sentinel, which is the mini boss of stage 2, and with some well-timed dodges and 1 billion boomerangs, we defeat him, pick up another shuriken upgrade, and continue our journey. And now it was time for our second boss, Karai. Karai is a lot harder than I expected. She has a lot of different attack patterns, can enrage after she's taken a bit of damage, and also moves as fast as the kunai that she throws. But I was confident in my abilities and ready to show her who the real boss was. That is, until she did an attack where she threw a spread of kunai, and I was dumb enough to stand directly in their path, so I got hit by all of them. And And with one minor misstep, that was the end of Leonardo. Next up, we got Michelangelo, who's my personal favorite Ninja Turtle because he's funny. His two inspirations are multi-hit chance, which I think is fun, and attack area size, which will definitely be useful since his range isn't great. There was also some currency we were collecting in our first run, which allowed us to unlock some permanent progression, so before we head into the dungeon, we purchased some max health and an extra dash, which can save us in stickier situations. And we buy 2 revives, which is so OP. We head back into the dungeon and I immediately find the most powerful thing I've seen so far, the fireball move. This bad boy shoots out 3 fireballs that deal 100 damage each. To give you a metric, my entire combo at the end of my last run was dealing half of that. This move is dealing 300 damage in the first stage with no synergies at all. Basically, it was flambe season. We reach our first mini-boss of the run and it's just 2 giant rats and just look at their health bars. What is that? What is that damage? We get to Leatherhead and after a few fireballs, we leave with some croc jerky and head into the docks. We're allowed to choose an inspiration from another turtle at the beginning of stage 2, and I lucked out and got Donatello's, which allows me to charge my fireball 80% faster, making my caliente run a little more picoso. This time, the mini-boss we fight is a bombardier, which is basically a robot that makes it rain certain death. Still, it didn't matter to me because I was spitting out more heat than a Kendrick album. I felt confident in my abilities, or I guess I should say my ability, and then we climb back to Karai and this time I have 3 gifts for her, and all of them are fireballs. With our second boss beaten, it was time to go to stage 3, which, to the surprise of nobody on this planet, is harder than stage 2. However, my fireball spam knows no bounds, and with it I slowly barge my way through the seemingly endless waves of enemies. We fight the mini-boss, which is some sort of rat prince, and I can already taste the sweet, sweet victory on the horizon. The bloodshed is a blur as I cut down man and machine. It's all the same to me, as long as it dies. We hit the main boss of the stage, which is a double boss this time, in the form of Bebop and Rocksteady. Like all video game double bosses, these guys are a pain in the behind. Not only is one of them constantly shooting at you while the other one throws out massive combo attacks, but when you get their health bars low enough, they sprint across the map, making you survive a bullet hell to continue the encounter. Though I spammed as many fireballs as physically possible, this boss fight marked the end of Michelangelo. Now we only had 2 lives left and a better understanding of what we had to do. I dusted my controller off, picked myself off the ground, locked in Raphael, and headed into my 3rd try. For the sake of not repeating myself, we're gonna fast forward through the earlier bits while explaining a few mechanics. Raphael's special move is a channeling rapid stab that deals a ton of damage. His inspirations are all crit based, which means he's a character made specifically to fight up close. This was probably the most fun playstyle because the rapid stab is just so satisfying, and I decided that in my playthrough I may as well focus on crit damage if possible. Rav's starting tool was this really cool hook get over here move that yanks all enemies on the screen to Raph's location, but unfortunately it was practically useless against bosses, so I had to replace it ASAP. Raphael also hit faster than most characters, so if I was ever able to find a stacking debuff or just flat damage to scale my rapid attacks, that would be a worthy pickup too. We find a pickup that unlocks multi-crit, which deals 300% increased damage, and that is absolutely insane. Then I hit the shop and buy a pizza to raise my max health since I knew we were probably in it for the long haul. We fight Leatherhead and fill him with enough holes to make Camp Green Lake jealous? Huh? That's kind of a dated reference, whatever. Then we pick up Leonardo's inspiration, which gives us quite possibly the best thing we could get. Another special charge. This means if I just play correctly, I'd have 2 channeling rapid stabs available whenever I needed to take out a larger enemy. We fight the mini-boss of stage 2 that unfortunately happens to be in the middle of a lightning storm, meaning there's more things to dodge. Yeah, random events happen, by the way. And just look at this fight. Is that not like a lot? of stuff to dodge. It is, right? I'm not tripping. Then we get an upgrade that makes our special move and tool deal an additional 30 base damage per strike. I replace my Get Over Here move with a Shuriken Storm, which is a lot more overpowered, and we fight Karai with my advanced brain and mega stabby gameplay to remove her from the environment. The environment of the living, if you will. We head into stage 3, and in it we get a power-up which allows my shuriken to ricochet off of enemies, which makes my Shuriken Storm a lot better. Then we fight the mid-boss, which is an assassin that never stood a chance. We upgrade our shurikens again, because why not, and walk into the double boss that killed Mikey looking for a tasty bowl of that sweet revenge. They sprint away from me, forcing me to go through a bullet hell, and I lose one of my 2 revives, making the trek. Fortunately, with the power of bouncing shuriken and my massive brain, we defeat these bosses for the first time and can finally head into what I'm assuming is the final area of the game. We upgrade our shurikens again, because why not, and this stage is really turning the tankiness up to 11. Basically, enemies are starting to withstand the brunt of my entire combo. Unfortunately for them, I can combo again. At this point, my Shuriken Storm was easily my strongest move, but since I wasn't Donatello or someone who had his inspiration, charging my tool was taking a very long time. We get to the boss, which is Twin Assassins, and these guys are a combination of God's worst traits. They are fast tanks, which is a diabolical sin, and from a single misstep they burn my extra life. But I come out on top and continue my way. I buy a minor heal from the shop and head into what may in fact be the last fight of the game, Shredder himself. And I'ma just say, I get why they call him that. He has dash attacks, AoE rain attacks, jumping slam attacks, cleaves, chasing invulnerability attacks, and mind you, I have no extra lives to get out of this situation, but I grit my teeth and locked in, dodging perfectly and playing quite well. And through the battle that lasted for what felt like an eternity, I managed to beat Shred. What? Wait, he has a second health bar? And with Raph down, we only had one more shot to redeem our roguelike crown. And so I saved the smartest for last. Donatello, who should technically be overpowered so long as I can get the right tool set up. Unfortunately, I don't know if this game was mad at me at this point, because for some reason I only find tools that are not great. The first section is just raw skill and determination, because beating Leatherhead took a solid week and a half of attacking with no breaks in between. I pivot my build and make my very mediocre special move trigger fire damage, which eventually applies a damage overtime effect. But further pushing the point that the game was upset with me, for some reason Karai just does an entirely new, much more difficult set of attacks this time. Honestly, it's pretty awesome that she could just do that, but for the challenge, it's so comically unfortunate. Stage 3 wasn't too much of a chore at first, especially once I noticed the entire stage is constantly in a state of civil war, with different enemy types spawning in and attacking one another. So we beat the boss halfway through the stage and are still toolless and without hope. But then, as if the gods can hear my plea, I enter the shop, roll for an upgrade, and get the second best tool I've seen in my runs, the Shuriken Storm. And with this newfound gusto, we head into the double boss. We spam our bouncing Shuriken Storm and manage to chunk them enough to make this entire fight very manageable. And now it was time for the final stage on our final guy. We trudge through using every brain cell that we own and get to the mini boss with only a fraction of our health. And hilariously, it is yet again another lightning fast tank. And also, this time, there's 3 of them. So LMAO, am I right? Unfortunately, they burn one of my lives and also lower me to about 0.8% of my HP. I can't even afford a health pickup from the store, so this bit of life and another minor revive is all we had left to defeat our arch nemesis and keep my pride. And no matter how hard I tried, Shredder turned Donatello into Goner Fellow, I guess. Well, TMNT Splintered Fate, you've bested me this time. Thank you so much for sponsoring the video. I had an absolute blast playing it on single player, and I can't wait to get some friends over and play it couch co-op because it's such a wonderful time. Go on and check this game out from my link in the description below, and I'll be seeing you guys in the next one. Goodbye!